Picture yourself somewhere on a foggy hillside, trying to reach the lowest point in the valley. You can feel the slope under your feet, so you know which way is downhill. Direction is the easy half of the problem. Here is the hard half. How far do you actually walk before you stop and feel around again? Step too little and you crawl. Step too much and you climb the far side of the valley. Somewhere between them sits the step that buys you the most progress. That single question, asked over and over, is the engine inside almost every optimization method you will ever run. Let's learn how to answer it well. Here is a cost surface seen from above. Each ring joins points of equal cost, and the target sits right in the middle. You are standing at the point marked here, and some method has already handed you a direction to travel. Every possible move is now a single choice. How far along that arrow do you go? Give that distance a name. Call it alpha. Feeding it back into the cost gives a function of one variable only, and we write it as phi of alpha. Watch both pictures at once. On the left, the point slides along the line. On the right, its cost is drawn against the distance traveled, and a valley appears out of nowhere. The bottom of that valley is the best step. Find it, and you land on the innermost ring you can reach along this direction. Here is the catch that shapes this entire subject. A full optimizer solves this little problem again at every single iteration. So the method we use has to be ruthlessly economical with function evaluations. Before we can shrink anything, we have to trap the minimum inside an interval. Start from a point and take steps that keep doubling in size, watching the value as you go. 3.24, 2.56, 1.44, 0.16. The values keep falling, so keep walking. Then the next probe comes back higher. That rise is the signal. You have just stepped past the bottom, and the last 3 points now straddle it. Everything we do from here lives inside that bracket. Now one assumption unlocks everything. The function must be unimodal on this interval. It falls to a single minimum, then rises. No second dip, no plateau. Drop two probes inside the bracket and compare their heights. That single comparison is all the information we need. The left probe is lower. If the minimum were hiding out to the right of the higher probe, the function would have had to fall again after rising. Unimodality forbids that. So the whole tail beyond the higher point is impossible, and we throw it away. Two evaluations, and a chunk of the search space is gone forever. Repeat that, and the bracket closes in on the answer. Every elimination method runs the same loop: place two probes, compare, keep the promising side. What separates a clumsy method from a clever one is where the probes go, and how many of them you have to pay for each round. Put both probes right next to the midpoint, and you do cut the interval roughly in half. But look what you kept. Neither probe sits in a useful place next time, so you pay for two fresh evaluations every single round. Now push the probes outward to a very particular pair of positions. Keep the left piece, and one of the old probes is still sitting exactly where a new probe would have to go. It gets recycled, so each round costs just one fresh evaluation. Same information, half the price. Two famous methods find those magic positions, and they are the heart of this lesson. We want a ratio that repeats itself forever. Cut the interval at two symmetric spots and demand that the surviving piece look exactly like the original, just smaller. That self-similarity gives one small equation. Tau squared equals 1 minus tau. Solve it and out drops the golden ratio, 0.618, the same number that shows up in spirals, sunflowers and architecture. The two probes then sit at 38.2% and 61.8% of the way across, measured from the left end. Let's run it for real. Minimize this simple parabola on the interval from 0 to 5, where the answer is obviously 2, so we can check the method against the truth. The probes land at 1.91 and 3.09. Evaluating there gives 0.008 on the left and 1.188 on the right. Left is lower, so everything beyond 3.09 is gone. The new interval is 3.09 long, exactly 61.8% of what we started with. Now just repeat. Each round trims another 38% off, and the surviving probe means you only pay for one new evaluation. Watch the window close on the answer. After k rounds, the width is tau to the k times the original. Geometric shrinkage, no derivatives, and no need to decide in advance how long you will run. You simply stop when the window is tight enough. Suppose instead you are told up front, you get exactly this many function evaluations, not one more. What is the best possible schedule? The answer is built from the Fibonacci numbers, where each term is the sum of the two before it. 8 plus 13 makes 21, and so on. Spend n evaluations on the Fibonacci schedule, and the final interval is 1 over fn times the original. No method can beat that guarantee with the same budget. Fibonacci search is provably optimal. Here is how you use it. Start with a window of width 5 and demand a final width of no more than 0.2. You need a Fibonacci number of at least 25. 21 is too small, 34 clears it. 8 evaluations, and the guarantee is yours. And here is the beautiful part. Take the ratio of neighboring Fibonacci numbers, and it settles down. 1/2, 2/3, 3/5, 5/8, closing in on 0.618. Golden section search is simply Fibonacci search with an infinite budget. So, if the budget is fixed in advance, Fibonacci squeezes out the last drop. If you would rather just run until it is tight enough, golden section costs you almost nothing and is far simpler to code. Elimination methods are wonderfully stubborn. They only ever ask which of two values is smaller. But if the function is smooth, we are throwing away information. Its shape is telling us something. Sample it at 3 points. Through any 3 points there passes exactly one parabola, and a parabola has a minimum you can write down in closed form. That closed form is this expression. It looks heavy, but it is only the vertex of the fitted parabola, written in terms of the 3 points and their values. The vertex lands at about 1.72. The true minimum of this curve sits at 2, so one fit gets us close but not exact. Keep the 3 best points, fit again, and it tightens fast, far faster than chopping intervals ever could. And if the function happens to be an honest quadratic, the parabola is not an approximation at all. It is the function, so the very first jump lands on the exact minimum. If you can also compute derivatives, there is an even sharper tool. Newton's method hunts for the place where the slope vanishes, correcting each guess by the slope divided by the curvature. Try it on our parabola, starting way out at 5. The slope there is 6, the curvature is 2, and the correction is 3. One step, and we are standing on the exact minimum at 2. That speed comes with a warning. Newton needs both derivatives, and if the curvature is negative, it will confidently march you uphill. Fast, but not fearless. One last idea, and it is the one real solvers actually use. Inside a big optimizer, nailing the perfect step is a waste of effort. The direction will change at the next iteration anyway. We just need a step that makes honest progress. At the start, the slope makes a promise: keep falling at this rate, and the cost drops along this line. Nobody expects the full promise to be kept. The sufficient decrease condition asks only for a small fraction of it, a gentler line that the true cost must stay under. This is the Armijo condition, and in practice that fraction is tiny, around 1/10,000th. On its own, that rules out steps that are too long, but a ridiculously tiny step also passes. So we add a second test on the slope at the new point. It must have flattened out enough. That kills the useless baby steps. Together the two are called the Wolf conditions, and they carve out a band of acceptable step lengths. The recipe is delightfully blunt. Try a full step of 1. If it fails the test, halve it. Try again. Halve again. The first value that passes is the one you take here, a quarter. No bracketing, no ratios, barely any arithmetic, and it is exactly what sits inside most gradient and quasi-Newton codes you will ever use. 3 drills to make this concrete. First, starting from a window of width 5, how many golden section rounds get you under 0.2? Each round keeps 0.618, so we need that factor raised to the k to drop below 0.04. Take logs, and k must be at least 6.7, which means 7 rounds. Second, the same job on a Fibonacci schedule. We need a Fibonacci number of at least 25. 21 falls short, 34 does the job, so 8 evaluations by the guarantee. Third, the sufficient decrease test in numbers. The current cost is 10, the directional slope is -4, and the constant is 1/10,000th at a half step. Multiply through, and the ceiling is 9.9998. Any cost at or below that is accepted. Notice how little decrease is actually demanded. That is not sloppiness. It is what keeps the test from rejecting perfectly good steps. Let's put the whole toolkit on one screen. Everything hangs off a single question. Trap the answer in an interval. Then either shrink that interval by pure comparison, or, if the function is smooth, fit a model and jump to its minimum. Here is the habit worth keeping. Elimination cannot be fooled, it needs no derivatives, and does not care if the function is ugly or noisy. Interpolation is dramatically faster when the function is smooth, and reckless when it is not. So good solvers use both. Bracket robustly first, then switch to a model once the window is small and the function finally looks like a parabola. If you remember one sentence from all of this, make it this one. Every descent method is nothing more than a direction and a distance. We have solved the distance half completely. Next time we go after the other half, how the search direction itself gets chosen, with steepest descent and its faster relatives, each of them calling the line search you just learned at every iteration. Work through the practice problems before you watch it. See you in the next one.